So with this one, the same thing, do just this basic piece of footwork. So advance forward, say I'm gonna do 2 steps, right? And say I step back, I go back with it, right? Come back to the center, and then it's which direction do I wanna go? We go here, 1, 2, turn, 1, 2, back to the middle, maybe I go here, right? Or I go back, 1, 2, 1, I'm gonna go to this diagonal. Right, you see what I'm saying? Or you can use switching, you can use driving, you can use sinking, you know, all of these principal pieces, right? So I'm here and I want to go to that angle. I switched, right? I switched back. Maybe I want to go that way. So I switch. I want to go this way, but I turn around. 1, 2, I turn, 1, 2, and I'm back. Moving the hand out in front versus keeping the hands here. Just think like this. Again, don't turn these like in the other video I was talking about. Try not to overly stylize what you're doing, especially for a self-defense situation. Meaning, again, if I take on some kind of pose, no matter whatever it may be, and then even if the guy doesn't, or the person doesn't know anything, they may try to take on a pose too, and it would confuse you even more. It's better just to keep things simple. But hands here or hands like this, right? And if I'm that close to being able to make an attachment, that's great. But here or here, great. And again, it doesn't look overly threatening. Now, if I do it like this, and I get more assertive with it, but I should be able to just drop into whatever it is that I want to do, right? I drop into it, or I drop into it, or drop into it, or drop into it. I'm going to strike or grapple. So we also want to say this foot's forward, and as I step back with it, now I'm going to move me in this circle pattern. So I take a step, I step back in, I step out. I step again, I step back in, I step back, I step out. So if you think of a pie, right, a whole pie, and it's already pre-cut for you, and each one of those little triangles is one place where you're stepping in and stepping out, right? So I'm stepping in this circle, and I'm going to bring this foot to the top of this triangle, and maybe I bring it back. I step over here, I'm coming in this way. I pull it back, I step in, I step back, I step in, I step back. And a lot of the short-range fighting is about me getting his flank, or me getting this leg on the inside of his leg or on the outside of his leg. If I can, I'm always searching for an attachment, not just with my arm or my bridges, but also with my legs, my lower legs especially. I'm always trying to attach something, right? If I can rub up against the outside of his leg or hook to the inside or be on the outside and hook it, I've already got that attachment. I get this attachment up here. So you have to think like that. You can't just do, I watched we'll say certain competitions that I've watched, and even the ones that are some of the ones that are supposed to be pro guys, and they'll go from punching and kicking, and then they're going to go to grappling mode, and it's like something has to turn off and something else turn on, right? They're here, and then it's like something switches off, and then now they can wrestle. You don't want to think like that. The more that you can merge these two premise ideas together, right? I strike, but at the same time, I'm trying to touch my leg to his, and some of these videos, Jonathan will be helping me. He's preparing this weekend for a test that he's doing. He's got 2 tests to do over the next 6 weeks. And I do want to divide him out. Once he gets this test done, in the next 6 weeks, we're going to be looking at a bunch of application videos. But anyway, let's see. This is everything I wanted to cover in this video. So we looked at the shadow boxing a little bit, right? So you got a circular pattern that moves in. You got another pattern where you're in the middle, and you've got verticals, diagonals, and horizontals, right? You're either moving forward or moving back to the center, or you're changing the line and the direction. And then you have like a big plus sign, right? And from here, I'm either going to take 2 steps forward or 2 steps back. You can do 5 if you want. Okay, I just simplify it for space. Same thing, I would potentially do 2 steps out, 2 steps back in, and I can work different things in place. Okay, even stuff here where I'm facing this way and being able to move here. Make sense? So we've got those 3 fundamental patterns. We have our stances again, 70-30, 70-30, 70-30, 50-50. Okay? And then we have our cat, monkey, sit back, or 7 stars. So we've got those primarily. And then you can say that things like, this is an action, it's not a position. I mean, it becomes a position, but these kind of things like that type of rotation, or these opening and closing pieces, opening and closing, or drawing. In the drawing book, it becomes a cat stance. Or twisting here on our stance. And that same twisting is this, right? So, I've done Wing Chun for a really long time. And a lot of people that do Wing Chun, Wing Chun, so a lot of this, well, a portion of this comes from my training and my understanding of Wing Chun. And I repurposed it. And if anybody's watching it, that's some Wing Chun stuff. Some of it is. A small percentage of it, actually. Some of the stance is not so much. But what I'm getting at is, like, well, a lot of times when people do chain punching, they do it like this. And one, they're leaning backwards. 2, they're dragging the foot. Even if the foot's helping to stabilize, they're still dragging it. And they're punching just with the arms. We don't want to do that. We want to punch with the body, right? So here it is. Punch, punch, punch. Very few Wing Chun guys do that. The majority punch like this. And even a lot of them snap the elbow like this. They don't even punch out like this, right? So a lot of it, what we want to do for this footwork is every time there's a move of a strike, there's going to be some leg work. Like 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3. And you can do it fast. Practice, practice, practice. So, covered our stances, the different patterns of the shadow boxing, and we looked at different ways in which to apply, we'll say, the movement. Anyway, I hope that helps. And like I said, for the next video, we will discuss movements more, kicks and punches, and how they move with these pieces. And we'll look at these patterns, and then that will move us into combinations of movements. You don't, remember this, you don't have to be a long range anything to do Sanda. You can do Sanda as short range. All your kicks and strikes down here, right? Now there's some of the movements that you couldn't do just purely for the sport. But you don't have to be able to do head kicks and all of that stuff, and it really takes away from that connection, right? Again, I want to be able to kick and strike and get a hold of something, right? Once I can get a hold of something, I can do my throw or my trip. So if I practice that, that's more important to me. That is my underlying goal, is to get better at execution of throws, if that's my main, right? So if we've got 4 things we can specialize in, or 5, depending on what you're looking at. There's striking, there's kicking, there's blocking and controlling, there's tripping and throwing, and then you could say that there's the fundamental aspect of the ground aspect. There's grappling on the ground, there's kicking and striking on the ground, all of that. So, where do you want to specialize? And by picking something you want to specialize in, you still need to be rounded in the other things. And it's really great if you can take the thing that you want to specialize in and be able to give the other things to help to facilitate your ability to do that. So my thing is I want to be better and better at throwing people. And so I want to use kicks and strikes to help me to get those attachments to be able to execute those throws that I want to do. So short range or short mid-range striking is great as long as you don't do these things. You got to not be hesitant and wait for the other person to attack. This is the other thing about a lot of traditional martial arts, and I really believe that this happened in the 70s when martial arts schools, especially Korean and karate stuff first, and then it fell over into Kung Fu styles, but that they wanted to make it more palatable for smaller children and things like that so that they could generate more revenue. And so in turn, they turned an offensive thing into a defensive thing. Meaning a lot of these styles, or say all of them pretty much, probably would have attacked you first. Just like in a combat sport, if you went to go do boxing, you're not going to play defense. You're not going to wait for the other guy to attack. Now you may be working on those skills, but if you're doing boxing, or some form of kickboxing, even in wrestling, they will penalize you if you're not being, we'll say, assertive or aggressive enough, right? You're not trying to execute. And I think that is the missing link in today's traditional martial arts styles, and that's why it doesn't look as effective and useful, because, again, they made it more about making money, and so they turned it into a defensive situation. So, you line up in a class and so does a punch. And then you do some movement, right? You go back, and then now it's your turn, you throw the punch out. Instead of the reverse of, right? I offensively try to hit this guy, and as he moves, I move in, I pin, and I try to hit him, right? That it's the same. You can train in the same way and be safe, right? In other words, you're not having major injuries to each other, but just by changing your mindset, making it offensive instead of defensive. In everything that I do that relates to Swatch Out, the Chongqi Tai Chi, and the Xing Jing of Master Tong's, it was all about offensively attacking first. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do counters and defensive actions and neutralizing movements and all of that. But that is the missing link, I think, for most schools. So that being said, when you see people and they stand like this, they're standing here and they're waiting for something to happen, or they're in this, whatever the pose may be, and then the other person does something, and then you're trying to counter that movement when you didn't even know what it was. And if it's something foreign to you, you're going to have to process it deeper. That just gives the other person more opportunity. So anyway, these videos, I hope that people like them, but it's basically short and mid-range is what we're working. And there's a difference between frame and range, right? You have, we do Miao Dao. It's a two-handed sword, right? Really long. And then you got staffs and spears and all of that stuff. But you have weapon range. You have long-range kicking range. You have kind of a mid-range kicking and striking range. Then you have a short-range striking, kicking range that's an attachment level, right? So those are ranges. Then you have frames, small, medium, large frame. Again, we discussed this in the other video, right? This is a large frame, but it is a short range attachment. This arm is touching his torso, this arm is on his wrist, and I'm using this wide base to stabilize me so I can execute this we'll say destabilizing move to knock him down, right? So think about that when you tie these things together. The most important thing to think of is just like this. If you're doing squat jiao and you want to do kicks and strikes and controls, or you're doing Chong Shi Tai Chi and you're utilizing the Xing Yi that we do that has kicks and strikes and footwork, which is part of this, think you're doing striking, grappling. Okay, is really more the, if you think like that, it will make so much more sense, and your mind will process it differently. I'm trying to strike you as I'm trying to grapple you. And, you know, or you're trying to grapple me and I'm trying to strike you as I'm grappling you. If I think like that, there's another guy that was that recently made a video that is was a student of Master Chuan. So another one of Master Chuang's disciples, like my Sifu, Master Wang. And he was talking about tenderizing the person, you know, before, you know, as you're trying to get this control, you're tenderizing them, you know, as you do it. And I thought that was making a lot of sense. You know, I've got to be able to strike this guy to try to get the attachment that I want, but if I don't, as he's the term that he was using, tenderize the person, to me, I would think in my mind, destabilize the person. The same thing. Tenderizing sounds pretty cool. But, so I may have to hit him 2 or 3 times to get him to lose some of his stability once I get the attachment, and then I may have to strike him along with the throw. Like one of my favorites is you know, say you've got the inside of the guy's arm and you're going to wrap his head, and you use the forearm here to hit him in the back of the head as you go to articulate this throw. He's going to get knocked in the head and then he goes down. So that's that guy's approach. Is what is the name of his YouTube channel? Iron and Silk, I think is what it is. But you know, he's got a very practical approach. We and him have some similar, you know, thinking, but he definitely has his and I have mine too, and that's great. So anyway, I hope that helps. Remember, it's striking and grappling. So video 3, one more time, we're gonna tie this stuff together with some strikes and some kicks, and we're also gonna look at these shadow boxing patterns, right? You got 3 of them, and you can easily do these yourself. You got a plus pattern, you've got like a cock pattern, right? Verticals, diagonals, horizontals, and then you got walking in a circle, moving in a circle to face to the inside, and these different points I'm going to try to step and I'm going to try to move in. And none of this stuff is specific to Wing Chun, but it is Kung Fu and it's specific to short range fighting stuff. And specifically, what I want to do is kicking and grappling. So anyway, I hope you like the video. It's a little long, a little janky. None of this stuff I edit, and I don't have like a script or anything. This is what I want to talk about and what I want to cover. So hopefully the next video will be a little bit more precise. So anyway, thank you for watching.